Good morning or afternoon, everybody. Jason Bowman here from taxmarketinghq.com. And today we're going to be talking about some budget options for finding taxpayer representation clients. So in particular, we'll talk about the 3 top local strategies to help you get started in entering this lucrative side of tax practice. A little bit about me. I'm an EA. I am a one-trick pony, meaning all I know is IRS Collections representation. It's really all I've ever done for the 10 years that I've been in practice. I am completely incompetent to prepare a 1040 return. So like I said, one-trick pony. This is all I know how to do. And for those of you that are sick and tired of the seasonal tax prep rat race and the long hours and whatnot, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to do tax prep and participate in filing season if you don't want to. Okay, I don't. I have, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that here in a moment. But it is not a regular service that I have ever offered on a regular basis. So representation is solely what I've worked on. I've written a few books, including Tax Resolution Secrets, which is a book for consumers showing them how to address their tax debt problems. It's also been an amazing lead generation magnet unto itself. I've also written a book for several books actually for practitioners, including Tax Resolution Systems, which is a checklist manual for practitioners that is currently published by CPA Trendlines. If you want to go there and grab a copy of that. Kind of my claims to fame are the fact that when I went into private practice, I built a small boutique tax practice from $0 to $35,000 a month in less than a year. I did that after growing an employer's firm from $750,000 a year to $3.2 million per year in less than a year and a half. I was employee number 6 of that firm, and by the year and a half mark, we were at 40 people. Founder of taxmarketinghq.com, co-founder of CPE learning management system, Prolera.com, which is for use by large public accounting firms. I've worked with closer to 200 tax resolution practitioners on growing their practices, ranging from solo practitioners to firms with 30 plus employees. And then as you can see there from the picture, I like spending my time doing fun stuff like running around dirt and snow-covered racetracks in 300 horsepower Subarus. Used to do some ice dancing, figure skating as an adult. I spent 3 years traveling around the world while continuing to represent clients here in the States. So this is I'm very much part of the lifestyle design generation. So today we're going to talk about primarily lead generation, how to find clients. And so I've got a question for you guys, and I'd like to see you type an answer in. Are you the kind of person that has more money than time, or do you have more time than money? I'd really like to hear what you have to say on this. Type it into the chat box there. Do you have more money or more time at your disposal for working on marketing? I'll take a second and hear what you guys have to say on that. Money? Good. If you have more money than time, that's a good thing. Okay? Time. Only one person so far, Karen, is saying money. Oh, Dave, money. Okay. For those of you that have more money than time, that's great. Okay. For everybody else that has more time than money, definitely pay attention. But even for those of you that have more money than time, everything I'm going to be talking about today can be done by a staff person. Okay, so if you have more money than time, you can hire a part-time marketing assistant to work on this. George says no time and no money. I would argue that that is vehemently incorrect, George. Somewhere, somehow, if you want to grow your practice, you have to make the time. That's just how it is. Okay. You know, this whole thing about poor versus lazy marketing, it's not meant to be offensive. It's just a way of looking at it. You're either cash poor, and so you don't have the budget to do big marketing stuff, or you have the money that allows you to be lazy. You know, as an example, I dropped well over $3,000 yesterday on direct mail for a couple different campaigns I'm doing. And so I'm fortunate that I've got the money to be able to do that. I can send the direct mail and be lazy with my money rather than having to, for example, smile and dial and do telemarketing like I did back at the end of 2010 when I went into private practice. I was spending 6 to 8 hours a day on the phone, you know, dialing for dollars, trying to grow my practice. So things like direct mail, radio, print media, internet pay-per-click ads, all those kind of things, they are the fastest way to grow your representation clientele, but they are expensive, okay? So what I'm going to be talking about today are for folks that have more time on their hands than money in the bank. But if you do have money in the bank, you just hire somebody as a staff person to do this kind of stuff for you. My big 3 assumptions about who you are, okay, is that you're either a solopreneur or you own your own small firm. Maybe you have 2 or 3 staff, maybe you add a couple of people on seasonally, but you're a small firm. If you're an employee at a big firm, then a lot of this probably won't resonate with you, okay, because a bigger firm is going to have a bigger marketing budget. Your ambition is to comfortably add somewhere between $25,000 and $100,000 to your existing annual revenue, by which I assume you're already in business. And then my 3rd assumption is that you have the capability of signing a 2848. Okay, you have to be able to sign a power of attorney in order to represent somebody. Okay. In front of collections. So you're either an attorney, CPA, or enrolled agent, or soon will be, or have partnered with one, or will hire one. You got to have somebody that can sign that 2848. If you are an unenrolled preparer, a lot of what I'm going to talk about today can still help you, but you're going to have to look at other services to provide rather than the representation angle that I talk about it from, because that's what I do, it's what I know, okay? So I want to back up 10 years to 2007. So I was a full-time real estate broker and investor in northern Colorado, in Fort Collins. I bought my first rental property in 2003, became a full-time real estate broker in 2005, and then the local real estate market crashed in the summer of 2007. I lost everything I had. I eventually filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and I ended up living in a van down by the river, Boulder Creek, actually, just in order to put food on the dashboard. I saw one of those big old, you know, take our tax class signs in the Jackson Hewitt office, and I worked the 08 season part-time, you know, evenings and weekends at a Jackson Hewitt kiosk in a super Walmart on Mulberry Avenue in Fort Collins, Colorado. At around the same time, in January of 2008, I got hired on at a big national tax resolution firm as a $10 an hour administrative assistant, simply because I had a friend that had just gotten hired there as a paralegal, and they were looking for additional help. And when I say I was living in a van down by the river, I'm not joking. This is my actual van, okay? That's my bed. This was kind of a rock bottom point in life, okay? I was flat ass broke. completely starting over in a career. I was making $9.15 an hour, slinging 1040s, and $10 an hour, slinging 433As. So, and I was living in the van in the parking lot of the tax resolution firm in Denver that I was working at. This is where I was at in life. Yeehaw. Okay. So, my first 6 months there at that tax resolution firm felt like I stepped back like 30 or 40 years in time, because I come out of the real estate industry where things are, even in 2008, a lot of real estate offices were already paperless. Okay. And despite all the contracts and all the amount of paperwork in a real estate office is pretty much similar to what it is in a tax office. Okay. But it was just amazing the amount of disorganization, 433s in the wrong client folder, faxes spilling out of the fax machine, files, no tracking system for where a file was, absolutely no use of checklists. And then on the marketing side, absolutely no efficiencies. They had one source of generating sales, and that was boiler room telemarketing. I'm talking Wolf of Wall Street type sales tactics. Most of the, quote, closers that I knew from the Denver area tax resolution market used to be timeshare salespeople up in Aspen, Vail, etc. Okay, and you take those sharks and put them into a boiler room selling tax resolution, often illegally. It's just, all kinds of bad things. It's also a very incestuous industry. A sales guy and an EA will get together and say, hey, why are we only making 20, 30% when we can go start our own company and make 100%? Okay. The marketing departments that these companies had, no automation, no lead follow-up. It was very much going after only the low-hanging fruit and a very turn and burn mentality on the clients. Basically, everything was the polar opposite of what I had been used to in the real estate industry. Okay. So in June, July of 2008, I started talking to the owners of the company about some of these problems I was seeing, and I said, look, let me help you. Let me move into more of a marketing and kind of somewhat chief operating officer type role. And let me, you guys have a good thing going here. You just got to make some changes. So first thing I did was, okay, look at our accounts receivable issues. And overwhelmingly, our biggest accounts receivable problem came from daycare centers. Because at the time, state budget crunches were preventing daycare centers from getting paid. And at the same time, the daycare centers could not lay off staff to reduce their 941 payroll liabilities, which is what the IRS wants you to do. Okay, so I was like, well, they can't pay us because they're not getting paid by the state, and they also can't lay people off because they have to maintain minimum adult-child ratios to keep their daycare license from the state. Rock in a hard place. We'd love to help them, but we are not running a charity here. We're running a business. So stop accepting daycares. Okay. That cut our accounts receivable payment issues by well over 2/3. Okay, resolved most of our payment problems. Boom. Okay, simple analysis and looking at who our best clients were. Okay, our best clients were usually construction contractors. I'm like, okay, let's shift the marketing and do more marketing to find more of those tradespeople. Also introduced this thing of performance tracking. What marketing was working, what marketing messages were working, what time of day was the best to call, etc. Also, trying to get away from paper. I personally programmed the first tax resolution automation software. Canopy, Pitbull, IRS Solutions. Those didn't exist in 2008. Okay, they didn't exist. So I programmed from scratch an in-house solution to help automate a lot of these things. It was a horrible platform in retrospect, but it worked. Okay, and it was one of the big things that allowed us to rapidly grow. Also started looking at direct response marketing through other media. Now the owners were like, oh, direct mail, that'll never work in tax resolution, rah, 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 rah. Or, why would we advertise on Google? People on the internet don't spend money. Well, yeah, they do. And yes, direct mail works. In fact, direct mail works better today than it did a decade ago, okay? Because fewer people are using it, so there's less competition in the snail mailbox, all right? And then, lo and behold, this concept of following up with your leads, not giving up after just a week or two, and assuming somebody's not going to buy your services. Nay, nay. You should follow up with a lead until they buy or die, okay? My personal record from the time that I had an initial consultation with a prospect and they told me no, until they eventually hired me based on my monthly follow-up marketing, which primarily just consisted of the occasional phone call and a monthly newsletter that I would physically mail them. My personal record is 28 months, over 2 years of hearing from me monthly, and then they paid me over $6,500, okay? At an ongoing follow-up cost of like $30, okay? So that was a big, big change. So obviously it's all about results. This company had been averaging $65,000 a month. And once we started implementing a lot of these things steamrolled and grew to $230,000 a month. After I left, they didn't grow much further. They're still doing about 4 million a year. And they're actually still one of my customers. So obviously, I went into private practice because obviously I had been self-employed for so long. I wanted to be self-employed again. I'm the kind of person that I'm not a very good employee. I like being the master of my own fate, so to speak. So on October 26, 2010, I left that company, went to private practice. I was no longer living in my van. I actually had to pay rent. I had a new truck payment. I had bills. And I hadn't saved a ton of money. I had about $9,000 that I'd saved up from my JOB, and I needed to market on a budget, okay? I was literally spending 6 to 8 hours a day on the phone, telemarketing for myself, okay? Because that's what you have to do when you're starting a new business, okay? I took the $9,000 I had, and I broke it up basically over 3 or 4 months. Into direct mail, lots of direct mail, and doing pay-per-click ads on Google AdWords. That's how I started my firm, okay? And then the money that I got from my first probably dozen clients, I put the vast majority of that money right back into marketing. As a matter of fact, I moved out of my house where I was paying rent, and I rented, and I moved to another city. I moved to Utah, to Provo, and I rented one of those executive office suites for like $175 a month. I had a front room and a back room. I was sleeping in the back room. So I was kind of back to being homeless. But for 3 or 4 months, I lived at my office so that I could save money and pour it into marketing. Okay? So, again, I realize that's not what a lot of people can do if you've got a family or something. You're not going to do that and go live in your office. But I did what I had to do. Okay, and that's part of my message for you, is that you got to do what you got to do sometimes. So George, like you say, you don't have time. Well, think about how much time you spend watching TV. Think about how much time you spend. Maybe you spend a lot of time participating in a sport, or if you're on volunteer boards, maybe you got to dial some of that stuff back so you can focus on marketing your business if you genuinely want to grow. If you don't want to grow your business, then it's not an issue. Okay. So long story short, by August of 2011, I had 38 active client cases. I was billing actually close to basically $1,000 per month per client is always my target. So I was just under $38,000 in monthly recurring revenue from my clients. The best part was I had enough money to take a friend. Well, she was a girl. I wanted to marry her. Blah blah blah. One of those kind of stories. But she had graduated from BYU there in Provo. And I had the money to take her to Japan for 2 weeks. On that trip, realized the relationship was going to go nowhere. I sent her home. I changed my flight, and I stayed in Japan for another 2.5 months till my visa ran out before I came back to the States. The beauty of it is because I had systems in place. I had systems in place for how I ran my business. Only one client ever knew that I was out of the country. Okay? Systems drive success. So, real quick, why is tax resolution such an awesome service for you to offer? Okay, both collection, I'm primarily talking about collections representation, but a lot of this can be applied to examination representation as well. Number one, you provide a local unique service. Okay, you can become the go-to provider for this kind of a service in your local marketplace, because according to the AICPA, less than 10% of CPAs in private practice do representation work. The vast majority of CPAs in private practice, all they do is tax prep. Okay, and they don't need their CPA license to do that. Same with enrolled agents. 98% of EAs, all they do is tax prep. The thing you don't need your license for. Okay, even attorneys that call themselves tax attorneys mostly do trust and estate work. They don't do tax controversy work. As a matter of fact, most collections representation is sold to tax debtors by giant, unethical, high-pressure, out-of-state marketing companies. Okay? National tax resolution firms drive about a $1.5 billion a year industry, and it's really only consists of 5 or 6 dozen national firms. I'm sure you've heard the stories. I'm sure you know what's going on with those companies. Most of them use high sales pressure closers that are not licensed and have no business offering tax advice because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Okay? As a matter of fact, it is a violation of Revenue Procedure 8138 and Revenue Procedure 2014-42, as well as the advertising restrictions in Circular 230 for most of these companies to do what they do. But the IRS doesn't have the budget to crack down on them. Okay? There have been some relatively famous crackdowns back in 2009, 2010. Some people got indicted, blah, blah, some big firms got shut down, but there hasn't been a lot of FTC action since then. There's also a lot of this work to go around. Okay? This is from the IRS data book, which is published at the end of every March. And so this is the most current data we have for fiscal year 2016. The IRS closed out over 7 million collections cases, but over 7.5 million new collections cases were opened. So we started the 2017 fiscal year with 14 million open collections cases. My guess is that we started fiscal year 2018 here last month with probably closer to 15 million open collections cases. We'll see here in March when the data comes out, but I'm sure that there was another net increase. Also, this is assessed tax penalties and interest. This is not the tax gap we're talking about. This is actual balances due, and it is a ton of money, over $138 billion. Okay? The IRS has been doing a pretty good job of closing out delinquent tax return investigations, because obviously if they don't have a tax return, they won't know how much to bill you for. So the number of delinquent returns is going down. If you're the kind of person that just wants to do tax prep, I personally don't know why you would want to, but I do know return preparers that stay almost as busy the rest of the year as they do during the filing season, because they do tax resolution style marketing and just do the tax prep, and then they refer out the representation part. Okay? This is also incredibly lucrative. Average client fees for representation on collections work, just on the individual side, the 1040 representation side, $2,500 to $5,000. Okay? These are actual national averages. Don't be afraid to charge what you're worth. Okay? Don't just charge a form fee for a 9465 to set up an installment agreement. No, no, no. Okay? The value of setting up the installment agreement is worth more than the tax return. Okay? Invoice it out separately. Okay? It's called value billing. It's not that hard to get ramped up. Solo practitioners, you can add 2, 4, 6 cases a month if you're putting in the legwork or you're investing the money in marketing. So adding, $5,000 a month, bringing on even just 1 or 2 clients can really impact your bottom line. In regards to the fee quotation part and charging what you're worth, this is what Robin Reed, she's a member of my premium program in Florida, she said, your advice on fees was spot on. I was almost too afraid to quote a minimum price, as this was my first tax resolution client. But when I quoted a $2,500 non-refundable retainer for analysis, transcript review, and filing of 2 returns, with then a secondary engagement and fee for the actual representation work, they did not even quibble. With your assistance and advice, this first case will not be a disaster, but a smooth and clear path to future bliss, which she has done very well since then. Lazaro, he is a CPA down in Miami. Similar thing with him. He attended a live training that I did a couple years ago in Miami, and he said he already billed out $2,600 worth just based on the investigation part, okay? And then actually negotiating the installment agreement will be an additional fee. Now, how do you get higher fees? Use niches, okay? Niches are the way to go. If you become a big fish in a small pond, you will make more money, okay? Think about this. Who makes more money? A family physician or a cardiac surgeon? Trust me, the cardiac surgeon always makes more money, okay? Specialists make more money, and they get referrals. So in 2012, 13, 14, I built my practice heavily by focusing on representing small mom and pop trucking companies in 5 Western states, okay? Marketing to the 2290 tax liens that nobody else was really focusing on, okay? So my average case fee wasn't $3,000 or $4,000, it was $6,500 because I was a specialist. I knew how to do work with some of their specialized problems, especially related to the tax lien and working with the banks on their factoring agreements, okay? Also, when you niche down, you can get more effective results from your marketing. Because when I was able to say, hey truckers, rather than hey everybody, they pay more attention. So I get better marketing results, okay? Also, trust me, it's a lot cheaper to advertise in Trucker News or the National Association of Realtors magazine or something like that than it is to advertise in even a regional edition of, say, USA Today, okay? So just in terms of time, I need to skip that. But this is a CPA I've worked with for several years down in Atlanta. He kind of copied my trucker model. He's done very, very well with it. I ghost wrote a book for him, and just over the course of this year, he's brought in well over $20,000 worth of new client work just from focusing on this niche, okay? And that was just the tax prep side. So let's get to the core here. 3 cheap and simple marketing strategies for finding tax resolution clients. These techniques require more time than money, and they may not generate what I call ideal clients, okay? And as I said, simple, not necessarily easy. You may not like doing the grind, all right? Because if you have more time than money, it is a grind. You have to work, okay? I'm not going to sit here and promise you, 5 simple and easy secrets to making $1 million a year in tax resolution, like somebody else I know that uses that as his marketing message to you guys, okay? I'm not like that. I'm here to tell you like it is. So it can become a grind, but you got to put in the work. So first and foremost, it's always easier to reactivate an old client than it is to get a new client. So go back 3 to 5 years through your past clients, look for returns with a balance due, and contact them, okay? The balance due may have been the reason they stopped coming in, okay? Now, obviously, your mileage may vary depending on what your past clientele looks like. And if you have, don't just look at your 1040 clients, look also at payroll clients, bookkeeping clients, okay? This is a great way to pick up 941 work. And by the way, over 60% of all the tax debtors out there are 941. That's the majority of the debt. It's not 1040. Okay. Now, obviously, you have to put some consideration into whether you want clients back or not. You have to find out, did they stop filing altogether because of the liability that they couldn't pay? If they went elsewhere, you have to figure out why. Do you want them back? Do they still owe you money from past tax prep? How are you going to deal with that? You either forgive it or you roll it up into the fees. You do some sort of like forgiveness program. I've seen various ways of making that work. So that's number one. Number two, remember I said earlier, the vast majority of our colleagues don't do this kind of work. They don't want to do this kind of work. They will happily refer it out. For example, I just had a private coaching call with an EA in Florida. I have a lot of EAs in Florida. Last week, he had been all over the map. He had a $3,000 marketing program for social media that wasn't doing anything for him. He's tried all kinds of shiny object stuff. And I said, dude, stop. All I want you to do is email a bunch of your colleagues in Orlando and ask them if they have this kind of work that they can refer out. Okay? He did this just last week. I heard from him yesterday. He already has 2 appointments set up to meet with other tax professionals to refer representation work to him. Boom. Okay? Having that kind of a referral source is amazing. So I do encourage you to have tax resolution specific materials made, business cards, a book. Writing my book is one of the best things I've ever done. Okay? Letters of introduction, things like that. Let it be known that you do this kind of work, and if your state board, if your CPA allows it, let them know that you offer generous referral fees. EAs are not barred from offering referral fees under Circular 230, and the only state that I know of where that's an issue is Oregon. They do have some limitations in place under their regulation scheme for practitioners, but check with your state rules for yourself. Grow your network. Okay, I highly encourage you to attend as much of your CPE as you can live. Join local chapters of societies. Become active, participate. Let them know you're a specialist so that you get these referrals. Okay. Do direct mail, phone, or email outreach to other practitioners. Okay. In case you didn't know this, our PTINs are public record. Okay, you don't even have to do a FOIA request anymore. You can download the entire list off the IRS website. You're probably getting a lot of CPE spam, an increased amount this year. Okay, it's the nature of the beast. So put the list to use yourself as well. Okay, send out emails. 50 or 100 of them a day. You're gonna get some complaints. You're gonna get some referral partners though. All right. Send a short letter of introduction, 3 to 5 paragraphs at most, explaining who you are, why you're writing, and just get together for coffee or lunch. Okay. You know the old phrase, never eat lunch alone? This is a direct application of that. Renee Saradsky, she's an EA in Phoenix, one of my premium members. She did this 2 months ago. She sent approximately 800 emails to CPAs and unenrolled preparers in the Phoenix metro area. She had immediate meetings with several new referral partners, and she booked, we're talking cash. She got paid cash, over $20,000 in new tax resolution work in just a few weeks, okay, less than a month. Third one, this is the real grind, okay, tax liens. Tax liens are public record, okay? If somebody has a tax lien on public record, you automatically know they have a problem and they need help. Most big national tax resolution firms operate on a boiler room telemarketing model, like I already said, and they break all kinds of laws and regulations. You can show up on the phone and be different because you are honest, ethical, and you know what the hell you're talking about. When you can sound like what you're talking about, it blows people's minds. Okay, because it's a very different, calmer, gentler, more helpful conversation than these high-pressure sales calls they're getting from everybody else. Okay, so I do encourage you to have a call script. You need to have a source of the liens, and you need to have a different kind of offer to make. Okay, I repeatedly say that the days of the quote free consultation being a successful offer are decades gone. Okay, free consultations are a basic public expectation now. They are an ineffective lead magnet. If that's what you have on your business cards, if that's what you have on your website, you need to fix that. Okay, you need to offer people something better. Okay, books, webinars, special reports, local seminars, etc. You need better lead magnets. Let me tell you about some industry ratios. In the boiler room tax resolution telemarketing world, it typically takes an opener, a telemarketer, they roughly do about 250 dials per 8-hour day. Okay, there's a lot of disconnected phone numbers you got to slog through. There's pissed off people, there's voicemails, etc. So you're making about 250 dials to approximately 60 tax liens. Okay, most openers, they start the day, they're provided a stack of 50 to 90 whatever tax liens, and then they're going to make 250 dials. They're calling multiple times to each lien throughout the day, staggering their call times. Out of those, you might find about 10 that are willing to have a further conversation with the quote closer, who the call gets transferred to, and then out of that, they'll close one deal. Okay, usually in the $3,000 to $4,000 range for representation. Okay, your numbers should be better. Okay, out of 250 dials in a 6 to 8 hour telemarketing day, calling 60 liens, you should find closer to 15 or 20 people willing to have a conversation because your call automatically sounds different. Okay, and you should be able to close. Even over the phone, 20–30% closing rates are not unheard of, but you have to do the work. Okay, and let me tell you, cold calling tax liens, it sucks. It really does. Okay, it is a grind. I am not going to sugarcoat that. But if you don't have very many clients, or you're kind of dead during this time of the year, then what else are you going to do with your time? Okay. Also, December and January are historically a secondary peak in the annual 1040 tax resolution world. 941 work is not in any way seasonal because there's quarterly filings, obviously, so it's a never-ending cycle. But on the 1040 side, there, a lot of tax resolution firms, they scale back their dialing during this time of the year, December, January, because they just think, oh, no one's going to hire us during the holidays. Nothing could be further from the truth. The holidays tend to highlight and exacerbate personal financial problems, okay? Because they're running up their credit cards, there's the consumerism of the holiday season, etc. Okay? It makes their problem worse, and it's much more in their face. You can show up. There's much less competition. Again, December, January, usually the third or fourth best months for 1040 resolution, and there's a little bit less competition this time of the year. So now you know the cheapest, simplest marketing tactics that you can start working on right now. Everything I just talked about is stuff that you can start working on today. Okay? And again, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It does take work. Okay? Glenn wants to know web link for the PTIN. Just Google, do a Google search for IRS PTIN FOIA list, and it'll be like the first or second result. Okay? So that's how you find that, Glenn. Mike wants to know if you do cold calling, where should you call from? Call from your office. Use your cell phone, whatever. Don't call from a blocked number. There's one that's illegal. You still have to comply with the telemarketing sales rule and the do not call list, things like that. So don't call from blocked numbers. Don't do that kind of stuff. And besides, you want people to call you back, right? If they missed a call, you want them to call you back. So, I'm sure some of you are thinking, but Jason, what exactly do I email them? What do I say on the phone? What's my script look like? What kind of lead magnet should I use? What kind of offer should I make? Where do I get that PTIN list? Where do I get tax liens? Usually when I do this presentation, most people have more questions at the end than what they started with, based on the description of the presentation. If nothing else, I hope you walk away from this presentation with a better appreciation of the possibilities open to you to increase your revenue, okay? So if you want to take the next step, you want actual marketing examples, greater detail on actual marketing processes, including the tax resolution side, the practice management side, sales, all that stuff. I would like to invite you to join my premium membership program. This is what it looks like inside the members area. I'll go through this. So what I provide for you is access to a massive marketing library, dozens of tested and proven marketing pieces that you can use. You can swipe and deploy these, scripts, direct mail pieces, monthly client newsletter that I provide for you. Myself and other practitioners have spent literally hundreds of thousands of dollars testing the marketing pieces in actual tax practices, okay? And if stuff, I only give you my winners. The losers go into the scrap pile, and you don't get to see those, okay? And trust me, I've had a lot more losers than winners. Okay, that's all about marketing testing. In 2018, I'm going to be introducing brand new niche marketing toolkits. So every other month, you're going to get complete marketing plans, the ads to run, blog content to help you with SEO, specific mailers, entire email sequences, landing pages you can copy and paste, special reports you can use for targeting specific niche target markets. So if you want to go after real estate agents, I'll be making a kit for that. If you want to go after high net worth trust fund recovery penalty cases, which is something I used to do also. It was kind of a secondary niche to the truckers for me. I'll be creating a kit for that. I'm still in the figure skating world. I'm a figure skating judge and results accountant, different kind of accountant. So that's a hobby, right? Most figure skating coaches are paid basically under the table. They have self-employment tax issues. I could build something out of that if I want. So that's what I mean by hobbyists. So I'm going to be doing those every other month. Normally, toolkits like that sell for $300 to $1,000 each. Okay, I'm going to alternate those every month with detailed tutorials and demonstrations for implementing specific marketing strategies. Okay, so if you see all this hullabaloo going on around Facebook ads, and you're like, how do I do this? I'm going to show you. If you want to learn how to run webinars, okay, so that you can do basically group consultations, I'm going to show you how to do that. I operate a very active members-only Facebook group where we cover extensively tax firm marketing and management and also some technical stuff as well. I do a monthly, it's actually 2 hours most of the time, group Q&A call to give the opportunity to ask your most challenging marketing and management questions. And my normal consulting rate is $540 an hour, so I consider that kind of a bargain to include that monthly call. This is kind of a secondary thing. A lot of you don't have any problems fulfilling your CPE requirements, but I offer probably, I think in 2017, I probably offered somewhere close to 60 hours of webinar CPE, and I'm also in the process of investing. It's probably going to cost me somewhere around $10,000 or $15,000 to have programmed a self-study platform, and so I'm working on that. In fact, I have a conference call next Monday with the developers I'm hiring over in Italy to work on that. So I'm hoping to have that debuted right after the end of tax season. So this includes unlimited webinar and self-study CE. Every month I provide blog posts that you can use. Every month I provide you with a monthly client newsletter. I produce both a 1040 version and a 941 version. Most newsletter services easily charge you $200 or $300 a month just for that. Okay, I'm in the process of rebooting my entire tax practice. I shut down at the end of 2015. in order to concentrate on Prolera, the software company I started in Seattle. We're actually in the process of selling that system to a giant company that I can't name yet. So I'm rebooting my tax practice. I'll be focusing exclusively on the real estate niche, working with real estate agents and helping their clients with tax problems that are holding up closings. And so you're going to be able to get to look over my shoulder at that stuff. Do a couple coaching retreats, live seminars and mastermind groups, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. We're doing Orlando and Seattle this year. I offer huge discounts on CPE seminars. Plus, I offer tax resolution document templates like engagement letters, things like that for you. And all of that is contained here inside the members area. So, for example, you can see here, here's the monthly client newsletter, lead magnets, telephone scripts, all kinds of actual marketing content that you can use. Tons of courses and training videos, action plans that you can get into right away. The First Things First course, I do encourage everybody to go through this. Unfortunately, a lot of people skip it, but I think a lot of the information here is pretty crucial for getting started. Okay, so I cover marketing, client intake, practice management, some systems type stuff. I do demonstration videos, all sorts of stuff. I recently did a webinar, for example, on value billing and how to convert your clientele, even your tax prep clients, from they only pay you once a year to they pay you every month. Okay, training about search engine optimization, Facebook ads. This is an 1120S particular thing, if that's something you're interested in. So I do these kind of trainings all the time, okay, and you have access to the recordings of all these webinars. I do live workshops online. So for example, coming up next week, I have a 6 CPE hour IRS Collections Representation Level 1 class that covers 433, collection financial standards, CNC, IA, that kind of stuff. Later in the month, I'm doing a 6-hour deep dive on the financial analysis handbook of the Internal Revenue Manual. So that right there, that's 12 CPE hours for December. Put up recordings of all the calls as well. We do the Q&A call every month. So normally, premium membership is $1,500 a year. Okay, but I do have a special offer for you because I realize some of you may have no clue who I am. You don't know me from Adam, and you want to take kind of a test drive of what's in the membership library before you actually commit to doing it. So what I've got for you today is a 7-day trial. So you can hop in there, take a look for a week, and it's just $1, okay? And then even then, if you decide to continue with your membership, instead of the $149 a month, that is kind of the retail rate, instead of the $1,500 upfront annual price, it's literally just $119.20 a month after that. So you'll save 20% off the normal month-to-month rate if you choose to continue. And there's no ongoing commitment if you're on the month-to-month plan. You can cancel at any time. I do encourage you, obviously, to stick around because it takes time, and I want to be there to help you in terms of growing your practice with those monthly Q&A calls, helping you out within the Facebook group. So I would hope that you would stick around. But if you only want to stay on for 2 or 3 months and then tax season hits and you're out for a few months and want to come back after tax season, that's fine too. I'm not a stickler for that kind of stuff like some folks are. So if you're interested in that, again, it's just $1 for a week of access. And I think it's a good time because we're kind of between the holidays. So a lot of folks for the next week is a good time for them to evaluate stuff like this. So would love to invite you to take the test drive. If you go to premiumtrialoffer.com, that will automatically forward you to the checkout page. So it's just kind of a shortcut URL. I put the link there in the chat box. And again, that's if you're just listening on the phone, you don't have the webinar up. It's premiumtrialoffer.com. Let's see. Dave wants to know about level 2. So Dave, Dan and I were talking about doing a level 2 class in December, and we've kind of been evaluating the interest level from people such as yourself. And really to do any class like that, we need at least 15 or 20 people to express an interest in that. And we just did a level 2 in what was it? I think it was the first week of it was October 31st, November 1st. I think is what it was. And we had several hundred people on that one. So that was our last level 2. For a December level 2, we've literally had less than 10 people express an interest in that. Your name is still on my list for that. I have not forgotten about you, Dave. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to have enough interest from people in doing a level 2 in December. I think what we'll end up doing is a level 2 class in February. We did one in February of 2017, and what we did is we broke it up so it was just a 2-hour block once a week in order to make it easier to schedule attendance around the filing season. People seem to like that when we did that back in February of this year. We'll probably do it in February again. And if you're a premium member, Dave, you get that included in your membership. We normally charge $149 for those 6 to 8 CPE hour classes, and so those are included in your membership. So probably not the exact answer you wanted, Dave. Sorry, but that's kind of where we stand with it. So any other questions about anything that I covered in terms of the marketing strategies, the opportunity available for you, compared to other practitioners, competing against the big national firms? Any questions about any of the material I actually covered? I know I went really fast. In reality, this should probably be a 2-hour class. So I know I get talking fast. Sonia says, how to find leads. That's exactly what I talked about, Sonia, is you get referrals from other practitioners. You network with other practitioners. You reach out to them. They will give you referrals. Those are leads. You cold call tax liens. By the way, you can also cold call new business entity filings. You buy lists from your Secretary of State. New business entities, they need accounting help. You can buy lists of new home buyers that move to your area. They need a new tax person. You can cold call them. Okay, so you do telemarketing to find leads. You go back through your inactive client list. Okay, those are leads. Okay, so we talked about 3 very specific lead generation strategies during this webinar. Those referrals, those things, that is exactly how you generate leads, Sonia. Dave wants to know, where do you get a list of existing tax liens? So you can get them usually from your local county clerk and recorder's office. They'll probably charge you a per page copy fee to get those. You may be able to get them for free on the county website using their search function. There are also specialty list providers that you can purchase the lists from. The two biggest ones are inft.net, so a company called Information Technologies down in Los Angeles. So again, inft.net. The other one is taxlienshq.net, taxlienshq.net. And full disclosure, I own and operate that website. So you can buy lists. My lists are cheaper, but I don't have quite the geographical coverage that INFT does. So you pay a little extra with them in order to get broader geographical coverage. That's the big difference between the two services. Okay, so Dave, that's where you would find leads. All right. Any other questions? So again, if you're interested in taking a look at actual scripts, actual marketing pieces, a lot of really in-depth training on how to do marketing. You know, especially if you don't have much of a marketing background, you know, it's worth far more than the $1 just to look at some of my foundational training. Okay, and then even at the $119 a month, you know, think about what you spend on CPE. You know, most of the, you know, I'm in EA, I've got to do CE as well, and quite frankly, most of the cheap CE that out there, it's not worth the paper it's printed on. The quality just sucks. And I don't learn anything. Okay, it's doing it just to do the hours. So I'm all about trying to provide you with training, both marketing training and CE training that is directly applicable to what you're doing. Okay, so I do a lot of hands-on stuff with CPE, and it's you know, it's different than a lot of stuff out there. Mike says, I tried direct mail to lien list, received nothing. What can I do now? My question, Mike, would be, what kind of offer did you make? How many times did you mail to the list? If you mailed only one time, if you only mail one time to any list, I call that direct mail suicide. One time is completely insufficient. Okay, you have to mail to a direct mail list more than once. Okay. Also, you know, it depends on what you send them, right? I send a lot of postcards because that doesn't have to get opened. You know, if you just sent a machine printed letter in an envelope with a postal indicia, guess what? A lot of those don't even get opened. Okay. When I was the most successful thing you can do to get letters opened is hand addressed with a real stamp and with some sort of a funky return address label. So what I used to do is I would work out arrangements with the parents at the ice rink. I'm a big fan of of child labor. And in some of the downtimes, especially between like when the Zamboni was resurfacing the ice, instead of the kids running around, I'd pay them 5 or 10 cents a piece to hand address the envelope in, like, you know, purple, pink, blue pen, and it's in a child's handwriting. I would use bizarre stamps. I would use SpongeBob SquarePants return address labels. I would let the kids doodle on the back of the envelope, or I'd buy, you know, packs of stickers that you can get at like Office Depot, Staples, and I'd let the kids put stickers on the envelopes, kind of gussy them up. Okay, it was worth paying the 10 cents plus buying the stickers plus paying the slightly higher postage rate for real stamps. That was all worth it. Okay, it's a lot of manual labor, but it's worth it because guess what? Those suckers got opened. Whereas if you just machine print everything, the problem with doing it is a lot of them just don't get opened. Okay, so there's some tips for you on direct mail, Mike. Um, so uh, uh, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Again, if you want to take advantage of the $1 trial offer, which, by the way, that will include next week's level 1 class if you want to participate. Because that's within the 7 days. I'm doing that. Was it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? And even though the trial offer would, yeah, I'm not going to kick you out of the Thursday class just because the trial offers. But so if nothing else, you can get 6 hours of CPE next week for $1. I highly encourage you to check that out and see if it is something that you would like to continue with. So that's premiumtrialoffer.com. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It was a pleasure to answer some of the questions. I hope you learned a lot, got a better appreciation for the opportunities and some of the marketing resources that are literally, right under your nose, probably, and that you could maximize some of the efficacy of some of these, networking events and things like that you might already be attending. So, thanks again for being here. I hope that you had a wonderful Thanksgiving and a very Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.